Niterói-class frigates represent a living narrative of Brazilian naval ambition, shaped across 5 decades of Atlantic history, technology development, and strategic maturity. When these frigates first entered service in the late 1970s, Brazil was in a different phase of its maritime doctrine. The Navy recognized that the World War II-era ships inherited from older fleets were no longer sufficient for the evolving strategic realities of the South Atlantic. Brazil needed vessels that could project force, protect sea lanes, defend growing offshore energy assets, and train generations of sailors and naval tacticians for a future where maritime power would increasingly define national capability. Into this requirement stepped the Niterói-class, derived from the Vosper Bak 10 design of the United Kingdom, but ultimately realized as something distinctly Brazilian in spirit and operational philosophy. These ships were more than acquisitions, they were statements. At full load displacement of nearly 3,800 tons, with a speed of up to 30 knots and an impressive range for Atlantic operations, the Niterói-class delivered a capability that empowered Brazil to operate confidently across its exclusive economic zone and beyond. They embodied a flexible multi-role format: anti-submarine warfare, anti-surface warfare, escort duty, presence projection, sea lane security, and operational diplomacy. Their armament complemented this flexibility. The Exocet missile gave them sharp anti-ship teeth, the Aspide system provided point anti-air cover, and the combination of sonar, torpedo systems, and helicopter operations enabled credible anti-submarine warfare presence. A Brazilian naval officer serving in the 1990s might well say that these ships were the true classrooms of Brazil's modern operational doctrine. The modernization program known as ModFrag remains one of the most strategically intelligent decisions in Brazilian naval planning. Instead of replacing the entire class prematurely, Brazil chose targeted modernization, upgrading radar, combat management systems, sonar, sensors, and electronic warfare suites. This extended the service life of the ships by decades at minimal cost relative to full replacement. The logic of this decision demonstrates a consistent Brazilian philosophy in defense procurement: maximize existing capability while slowly building national industrial capacity. Modernization was not merely a technical exercise, it was a strategic pause during which Brazil prepared for the next generation of frigates while still maintaining naval readiness. Operationally, the Niterói-class has been everywhere and has done everything asked of them. They participated in UNITAS exercises alongside United States, Chilean, and Argentine vessels, demonstrating global interoperability. They took part in IBSAMAR operations with India and South Africa, strengthening South-South naval ties. They escorted strategic shipping lanes, performed maritime constabulary operations, monitored offshore platforms critical to Brazilian oil and gas production, and served as platforms for training helicopter crews, sonar operators, and surface warfare officers. It is difficult to overstate how deeply these frigates shaped the professional culture and tactical methodology of the Brazilian Navy. For multiple generations, service aboard a Niterói was a rite of passage. As Brazil entered the 21st century, and especially the 2020s, the balance between modernization and replacement became pivotal. Naval warfare has entered an era of network-centric doctrine, where ships are not isolated fighting units, but nodes in a digitalized combat information ecosystem. Against such demands, the analog-to-digital hybrid of the Niterói-class began to face limitations. Their radar lacks the multi-band, long-range tracking seen in newer designs. Their air defense capability is short-range rather than layered. Their hull signatures are not optimized for reduced detectability in modern electronic sensing environments. Their propulsion system imposes maintenance loads that now exceed proportional strategic value. In other words, they are still capable, but no longer decisive. This brings us to the Tamandaré-class, the future of Brazilian frigate capability. These new vessels embody everything that modern naval warfare requires: integrated combat systems, advanced sensor fusion, enhanced electronic warfare protection, modular payload flexibility, and reduced radar cross-section through shaping and materials optimization. Their presence signals a transformation. Brazil is not merely operating Navy ships, it is developing the industrial and technological ecosystem necessary for self-sustaining maritime power. The Tamandaré-class marks a conceptual shift. Instead of vessels built abroad and optimized there, these frigates are tied to Brazilian shipbuilding capacity, integrating technology transfers, engineering experience, and industrial autonomy. The transition from Niterói-class to Tamandaré-class is therefore not merely generational. It is structural. It reflects a maturing naval identity. Brazil is no longer a buyer of capability. It is a co-developer of capability. Ships like União, Constituição, Independência, Defensora, and Liberal, even in their advanced age, remain visible symbols of this evolution. Their service did not end because they are obsolete. Their service is concluding because they succeeded. They carried the Brazilian Navy across 5 decades of growth and ensured that Brazil entered the 21st century with maritime confidence. The legacy of the Niterói-class ultimately transcends their technical specifications. They cultivated officer corps professionalism, fleet coordination doctrine, helicopter ship integration experience, sonar-based engagement competency, and multinational exercise diplomacy. They anchored Brazil emotionally to the idea of itself as a South Atlantic naval power, not merely a continental land power. Their white-gray hulls represented presence, continuity, and sovereign reach. In the near future, as one by one these ships are retired or reduced to secondary roles such as training platforms or reserve duty, their lineage will not disappear. It will be embodied in sailors and commanders trained aboard them, in doctrines refined through their operations, and in the hulls of newer warships whose existence was made possible by the foundation Niterói-class provided. The future Tamandaré-class will patrol the same waters, defend the same strategic resources, serve many of the same missions, but they will do so with capabilities that position Brazil as a 21st century naval innovator. The story of the Niterói-class is therefore the story of Brazil's naval rise, a nation moving from foreign-built frigates toward indigenous capability, from analog sensors to digital networks, from regional patrol posture to technologically confident blue water presence. Their legacy rests not only in their steel, but in what they unlocked: a Brazilian Navy positioned for the future.